this is a very important thing that we have to keep our minds on, that seismologists are all of a sudden talking about huge earthquakes. The Culebra event, Canadian and Japanese seismologists promise an apocalypse. 2 years ago, when the whole world watched the explosion of the Canary Islands with horror, the earthquake, the volcanic eruptions there, as we know, the Canary Islands are on a hotspot as well, just like Iceland is. We introduced readers to the Canadian seismologist, and who independently of the U.S. Geological Survey predicted the eruption. The seismologist was Don DeVito, who independently of USGS predicted that eruption to within a month, despite the fact that those in charge predicted nothing. And that Mr. Don DeVito continues to make seismic phenomena with terrifying precision. In other words, he's predicting them with precision. To the right of the image in his prediction for two recent magnitude 6 earthquakes made a few days before the events. And he suggests that his theory works. The lithospheric plates, the tectonic plates of planet Earth, can be linked to a puzzle for primary and secondary school children, he says. Unlike the simple games, the lithosphere, the tectonic plate, is a more complex puzzle. The lithosphere plates can be removed from the box and can only be moved as is. That is, be moved one by one, and move one next to the other into empty positions. Much the same happens in the lithosphere, only there is less play there. It's more moving furniture in a room when there's enough furniture, but there's not enough square footage. Many successful geological vangs have been based on this approach over the years. And if it hits, for example, near Japan, you may have to wait for an earthquake in California, for example. And if an earthquake hits Alaska, it could mean that a plate moved all the way down in Australia and will soon have an earthquake somewhere there. As armchair volcanologists noted a long time ago, this great plan has barely worked in the last 5 years, even more than 5 years, since the magnitude 8 earthquake has not been in California for many years. And on one hand, this is of course very wonderful, but in reality it's not wonderful, since the plates must move in a circle, and if California does not move, then there is a block somewhere. Mr. Don DeVito explains that he found the blockage, what's stopping the plates from moving. And now, based on this figure, he introduces a modification to the standard, that is, it looks where it hit and then looks in which direction the plate should move from the Earth, and then compares the movement with the block. And if there is a block, a stoppage in other words, in the motion, that stoppage, that block, is considered as a single continuous plate, the motion of which is further calculated. However, sometimes, recently more and more, even the updated scheme does not work. The expected earthquake does not occur in the desired place, and since the law of conservation of momentum does not allow it, it makes one think that tension is building up somewhere, and where it accumulated, there will be a 10 magnitude earthquake. Right now, Mr. Don DeVito sees the coast of Japan as the Kraken's arrival point, somewhere near Tokyo. Moreover, what's surprising is that the Japanese, regardless of him, say the same thing. They're expecting a big one earthquake in Japan. The seismic event expected in Japan already has its own name. It's called the Culebra event. They're pre-naming it already. The Culebra event, what they're expecting to happen in Japan, is an upcoming global catastrophic mega earthquake that will cause irreversible changes around the world. This would be the strongest earthquake of our time, they say. This large earthquake, a big one earthquake, will be caused by the release of a stuck part of the Pacific plate. The Pacific plate is being pushed against the plates next to it and is being pushed very tightly underneath Japan. There are indications that the Pacific plate is approaching a point where it can no longer withstand the increased pressure. There will be a one-time release of energy in the form of a large earthquake. We already saw what's happening today is a volcanic eruption in the Kamchatka Peninsula, which is basically north of Japan. Now, the magnitude of the Culebra event is estimated to be magnitude 10.3 or greater. Can you imagine? Centered around 200 kilometers northeast of Tokyo, Japan. And according to the latest estimates, the event will occur before the year 2024. God forbid. This is what the seismologists are saying. The main rupture path could be from Guam through Japan and Alaska and could extend to Taiwan and other areas of the Western Pacific. Major impacts will include damage from global earthquakes and offshore tsunamis. Areas without seismic protection will be the most prone to severe damage from earthquakes worldwide. These are parts of the world that don't normally see much seismic activity, such as New York, London, Paris, Hong Kong, and Sao Paulo, Brazil. The result will be a vast debris field of destroyed cities and other infrastructure, as well as fragments of port facilities and ships that will drift to be abandoned inland. The tsunami is estimated to reach a height of several hundred meters. Let's remember that 1 meter is 3 feet. When it hits the U.S. West Coast, destroying urban areas away from the coast, such as Metro Los Angeles and San Francisco Bay Area. The waves will cause widespread flooding in low-lying areas in other parts of the world, such as the east coast of the United States. The strongest signs that this megaquake is approaching are the slowing of earthquakes in some areas and the change in the types of these earthquakes. North America has been seeing a significant decrease in the number of quakes since the late 1800s, and much of Europe did the same later in the 1900s. A huge area has formed across Asia where strong magnitude 8 earthquakes once occurred. These earthquakes stopped just a few decades ago. Earthquakes greater than magnitude 7.7 have also been suspended over a very wide area in the Philippine Plate region where the main block is located. The corridor to southern Japan through much of the Philippines has seen a long hiatus in earthquakes greater than 7 magnitude, which occurred regularly until the end of the last century. Many areas of the Western Pacific have not experienced an earthquake of magnitude 7 or greater in many years. This is a formerly very active region which stretches from Tokyo to the Philippines, as well as the eastern boundary of the Australian plate from Fiji to New Zealand, where although a large number of magnitude 7 earthquakes have occurred, they are not of the supershock type. This is a sign of limited plate movement. After the Culebra event, human life will be very difficult, but with minimal changes to wildlife and habitats. The world economy will completely collapse and world trade and industrial production will come to a complete halt. There will be a severe reduction in the planet's population. Eventually, there will be tens of millions of people to 1 billion people left. And according to predictions from 2020, the Culebra event was expected in the summer of 2023, and the latest and most likely in the summer of 2021. However, the Canarian Waters eruption delayed this event. Excess magma gushed out and the pressure subsided. Now something similar is happening in Iceland. So if it starts to flood there very heavily, if the lava comes out for several months, then Japan will again get a delay of a year or two. But if there is not a major explosion in Iceland or anywhere else, then there will definitely be an explosion in Japan. We're talking about volcanic eruption. So we're watching the developments. Well, we do have Mount Etna exploding too, right? it's erupting too. This is from the big one. I've translated this from a Greek article. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.